Okay, Sig Sauer guy here. This video is going to be about the complete disassembly and reassembly of the P320 FCU. I know I've done this video in the past, but I want to do a better quality video, so here it is. Mine is a full-size 9mm P320 with a couple extra add-ons to it, but for the purpose of this video, all FCUs come apart the exact same way, so it doesn't matter which variant of the 320 that you have. So let's get started. If you have a magazine installed, you're going to remove the magazine first. Lock the slide to the rear, make sure it's clear. Rotate our takedown lever to the 7 o'clock position. And I'm going to release our slide catch and remove the slide from the grip module. We'll set that aside. And then we're going to pull out our takedown lever all the way out. Set that aside. And then we'll remove our FCU from the grip module, lifting from the front, pulling it up and out. And there's your fire control unit. As you can see, mine has the Apex trigger bar in it. I had this in my X Compact this last weekend shooting it, so I actually have the Sig version 2 flat trigger installed as well. So the first part is we're going to remove this trigger bar, the trigger and the trigger bar spring. And the easy way to do that is to just lift up on this trigger bar. We're going to pull it straight up and rotate it around the Sear block. This is the Sear block right here. The trigger bar is shaped like an L and the leg goes into the Sear block. So we're going to lift it up and rotate it around to the back. And then at this point our trigger is just about ready to fall out. Just pull it straight up and out. Here's our trigger shoe. And then the trigger bar will just rotate and come off as well. So our trigger bar spring has a hook on one end and then a leg on the other end. This end here hooks into the trigger bar, and then the hook and attaches to our frame right through this little eyelet. So we'll put those two aside there. The next thing we can do is remove our slide catch. So the couple tools you need here is a little hammer and various sized punches and a 90-degree pick as well. 90-degree pick. There are other tools you can use that. Whatever you have laying around, this is what I just choose to use. So on our slide catch, it's just held in by one pin and a little spring that makes it spring loaded. So this pin here, we're just going to push it straight through, pull it right out, and then our slide catch will come right out. When you pull this out, be careful. There's a little spring on the end of it and a little puck that sits inside the spring. So we're going to set that aside right there. The next step we're going to do is we're going to remove this safety lever takedown. And to do that, we're going to drift this pin, the flat side here where it doesn't protrude through the frame, we're going to push it through to where this side is coming out. Okay. Armorer's block, wheeler, anything will do with holes in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put this on here. I'm going to use my little punch. I'm going to tap just a little bit. It comes out very easily. And then that pin doesn't always come out all the way. A lot of times it just hangs out right inside here, which is fine. You can leave it there. It does not need to come all the way out. Okay. So I'm going to set that aside. And then our next step is for this lever on this side. Once we take that pin out, we're going to angle this. You got to kind of manipulate it and move it around. But we're going to want to move this to the side. Just like that. See, I can push it to the side. And we're going to hold it there. And what that's going to do is allow me to get my pick in behind. There's a little spring inside here that's pushing on. There's a piece that comes off of this that goes straight down into there. The spring is pushing on it, holding it in there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 90-degree pick I'm going to capture that spring as close to that lever we're taking out, and I'm going to pull it to the rear, and I can pull this straight up and out. And then that'll fall right out. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. That's that little leg that the spring was pushing on. So basically when we use the 90-degree pick, we just kind of pulled the spring off of that to relieve the pressure, and then we could pull this straight up and out. Okay, and I don't know if you can see the spring in there. Little spring in there. So that's about as far as most people take this down. Okay, for cleaning purposes, that's about as far as you really need to go. The Apex trigger kit, that is way further than you need to go. The Apex kit comes with a trigger shoe, the trigger bar, a tube, a sleeve that goes over this pin that we took out, and a little spring as well. So we didn't need to take all this other stuff apart. But if you're going to do a different trigger kit that comes with a new Sear, safety lever, Sear springs, we're going to need to go further. Okay. So what we're going to do on this is we have two pins that's basically holding everything inside here. Okay. And all we're going to do is push these pins out. There's the big pin that goes out that way. And then the small pin goes out the exact same way. And there's a small pin, okay? So it's basically the two pins that are in the front, right here and right here. That's the big pin, that's the small pin. I just pushed them completely out. There is a third pin back here that is holding in the Sear housing. We'll punch that out afterwards. That one comes out really hard, so there's no mistaking. You ain't gonna push that out by accident. So we took these two out, and then be careful, I'm gonna tip this upside down and let everything fall out. Okay, and what you should have there is a safety lever, your Sear, okay, and two springs on the Sear, and that's it. Post upgrade 320. There might be another little spring in there on older versions, okay, and that's it. There's nothing else left in the Sear housing. So next we will drift out this pin, take that Sear housing out, the disconnector, and that little spring. That way you can see everything that can be taken apart on the 320. Okay, so taking the stuff apart, it really doesn't need to, I don't need to go slow and stuff because you're just taking it all apart. You can put everything back together, so there's no worry of not being able to put something back together, just as long as you don't lose anything. So what we're going to do now is this pin right here. It's a roll pin. It's pretty hard to get out, so you got to punch in a hammer. And we're going to knock that out of there. This is not necessary, but I want to show you everything there is to take apart on the 320. So you can see how hard that little pin comes out. And there's our pin. And then our Sear housing will come right up and out of there. And then on that we have the disconnector, which is what they added after for the voluntary upgrade. So you can take that out of there. And then that little spring we were talking about sitting in the side there. You can take that little guy out of there if you want. And that's it. There's your Sear housing. There's nothing left in there. You can clean that out really good. Hot water, do whatever you want. Clean it all out. Just make sure you put a light coat, maybe oil on it afterwards if you're using water, so it doesn't rust up. Okay. There's your disconnector. It's dirty because I just shot it last weekend. And then your FCU frame. Nothing in there. Okay. So let me clean all these parts up, and then the second part of this video will be putting everything right back together.